Are you wondering about just how safe is Portland and how do specific communities and suburbs compare to the rest of the region, which is the Portland and Vancouver greater area? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a tool for you to do some of your own research on the various communities of the Portland and Vancouver area, including Portland. And fortunately, this tool verifies everything that I have said about living in the Portland, Vancouver area on past videos. Hey there, this is Joseph Nelson with the Ascend Home team. You know, the one really cool thing about YouTube is that when you visit YouTube, you give up absolutely none of your personal identity. As opposed to things like Facebook, if you engage with any of the content, your information is immediately transferred to whoever created that content. About all I get is analytics, how many views my channel is getting, and by the way, I am over 20,000. What part of the country you're from, or what part of the world you are from. What kind of device are you viewing from? A phone, a laptop, tablet, or a desktop? But this tells me nothing about you. And this is true even when you subscribe or comment. And by the way, the more subscribes, likes, and comments I get, the more my videos are suggested to people like you. So I would appreciate it if you would engage by subscribing, liking, and commenting. So unlike all the other platforms on social media, you have to call or text me in order to start your own moving experience. We will not engage whatsoever, except I may comment on some of your comments, but that's about as far as it goes. Moving forward from that point requires you to call or text. And all of my contact information is shown below each video in the Show More section. I do both corporate, and corporate means that there are big companies moving their employees here from other parts of the United States or even other parts of the world. Private relocation would be people like you from YouTube. And something I'm pretty proud of, eXp Realty recently started relocation service. And with one of those corporate clients, I am the first agent at eXp to have a buyer in contract through this corporate client, and I'm very proud of this. Okay, let's get into the content. We're first going to take a look at this resource, and what you'll see is a map of the Portland, Vancouver area, and we are zoomed out so you can see the entire area. You get much less detail, but it gives you an idea of where we're starting. First off, I'd like to point out that there are some very large geographic areas that are in red, for instance. These are extremely lowly populated areas that statistically, compared to other areas, the number of crimes per 1,000 people is high. But the number of crimes in these areas might be 2 or 3. And so you have to take some of this with a grain of salt. I would not exclude large geographic areas that are all in red. We need to dive a little deeper into these areas. But the point is, on this map, red is the least safe. Dark green is the most safe. And colors in between are in between. Sometimes the way the data is collected, it's a little bit skewed one way or the other, maybe unfairly. So again, really low populated areas may have an exaggerated low score. On the other hand, if they're dark green, I would say that that is absolutely accurate. So now let's zoom in to the Oregon side, the city of Portland and the Portland suburbs. One thing you'll notice, the east side, that is east of the Willamette River, the east side of Portland, has no dark green areas. Where the west side of Portland, that is west of the Willamette River, shows a mosaic of green and other colors. And then pushing further out into the suburbs of the west side, that would be Beaverton, Hillsboro, Lake Oswego, West Lynn, Sherwood, Wilsonville, we're going to start to see in specific neighborhoods where the safer and less safe areas are located. We push in even further and we get to the street level where you can actually identify streets, including down to the street names. Also pertains to the Washington side of the river, Vancouver, Camas. In this view, notice that the Portland side of the Columbia River is almost all red. And immediately across the river, there are large sections of dark green in Vancouver, but it's more of a mosaic. In other words, some specific neighborhoods are safer than others. So when we move in even further, we see a mosaic again of specific neighborhoods and their relative safety. The Washington side of the river, and being only 10 to 15 minutes from the Portland airport, is certainly much safer than the Oregon side in the Portland area. And as we move east to the eastern edge of Vancouver and Camas, we see much more dark green. And I have highlighted this in the past, specifically on my neighborhood spotlights of East Vancouver and in Camas. You'll find very little that's not covered by dark green on the eastern edge of Vancouver and in Camas. As a general rule, the communities east of I-205 are safer than the communities west of I-205, and in certainly much larger proportion. These communities include Cascade Park, Fisher's Landing, and Camas, and Washougal. And when you compare the safety rating on the Washington side of the Columbia River compared to the Oregon side, the difference is stark. And this is also what you will notice as you drive across one of the two bridges that lead from Portland into Vancouver. You will immediately be impressed by how much homelessness there is on the Oregon side and how much homelessness is almost non-existent on the Washington side. This website is crimegrade.org, and I'm doing a little pop-up here with the website address, and it is also listed below in the show more information below this video. I invite you to search for videos anywhere that you might be looking to buy a home. And also, just for curiosity and to test the accuracy of this website, look up your own city and see how it compares to your knowledge of your hometown, because it compares very well with the Portland Vancouver area and the knowledge I have with living here for over 60 years. So you type in a zip code to start your search. Continue to zoom in for as much detail as you desire. Now you have both my interpretation of where the safe areas are to live in the Portland Vancouver area, and you have validation from what I would consider to be a non-biased website. So at the top of the map, you can toggle between overall is what you come to first, and then you can hit the property crime tab, the violent crime tag, and even the drug tag. There are explanations below the map. The More button at the top of the map takes you down to even more information. But I think no matter which one of these tabs you click into, and they will change slightly, they will change the mosaic slightly on the map, but I think you're going to find that it doesn't differ a lot from the original view. So I believe that you can just use the original view when you come onto the website and feel pretty confident that this is going to give you the information you need. So in a nutshell, in Portland, the east side of the Willamette River, which runs right through downtown Portland, in this area, the general crime rate is high. There are some suburbs in the far east outside the city limits of Portland, such as Happy Valley, which have a very high dark green score. The west side of Portland, once you get outside of the downtown core, is much safer. And as you exit the city of Portland and get into the suburbs, you will find areas to be generally dark green, very safe, with only a few spatterings of higher crime areas. And this is also true for Vancouver, especially east of I-205. Now, there are some small micro communities in almost all parts of the Portland Vancouver area that are very safe. But one thing that stands out to me is the City of Portland Police is non-effective on crime, especially property crime and drug crime. And so anywhere in the city of Portland, I would think deeply before moving there. Now, there are some good areas in the West Hills, etc., that may not experience the property crime and drugs that a lot of Portland does, but you are still covered by the City of Portland Police, which is underfunded and undermanned. They are not responding to anything other than immediate threats to life. So it is my desire that this video was helpful when you start digging deep into where you might want to live in the Portland, Vancouver area. And again, this map tool does nothing but verify opinions I have shared with you in the past on specific communities. And the region, no matter where you locate, will offer you the great Pacific Northwest experience, which has amazing beauty, endless recreational opportunities year-round, a mild climate that's not too hot and not too cold, and lots of water that is not going to run out. You will never run out of things to do here. Trust me, I have tried and I have failed, and I still find new things to do. I live in a floating home and I have my boat in the water tied up to my deck, but it's a pain in the rear to put it onto a trailer and drag it down to the coast to do crabbing. So I'm getting set up to crab with a fishing pole from the jetties and beaches on the coast, casting out a small trap and reeling in one of the best bounties that the sea provides, Dungeness crab, and then boiling them in salt water from the bay or the ocean, cooking to perfection, and then enjoying this hot crab that just came out of the boiling water. Trust me, you have never had crab so delicious than the ones you catch and cook yourself and eat immediately. It's my estimation, and I've crabbed out of boats for years, but it is my estimation that crab loses half of its flavor between the time it's caught and makes it to our local grocery stores compared to eating it hot right out of the boiling salt water. So this is just one example of how you can go to the coast with a fishing pole and a little bit of gear and experience for yourself one of the Pacific Northwest's local treasures. Drive an hour and a half west, spend the day on the Washington or Oregon coast, and feed your family the best crab you will ever eat. And besides it actually having more flavor than the store-bought crab, things always taste better that you catch and cook yourself. So again, until the next video, I am waiting for your text or call.